Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Do you mind, can we share the agenda one more time, please? That was helpful for me last month. Is it possible or no?
I have an agenda from the June meeting. I don't see an agenda for today. I can pull up the agenda from the June meeting.
Yeah, and that may be my fault for not getting it back to you in time. Um, yeah, that's perfect. Great. All right. Well, 5 minutes in, I think we should go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone again. Hope you all are having a great summer. I'm going to call the meeting to order and go ahead and start with roll call. Um, Daniel King, DOES.
Here.
Larry Villegas Perez, OHR.
Here.
Tracy Javier.
Here.
Zach Kaufman.
Here.
Andrew Klein, Restaurant Association.
Here.
I do not see Miss Abrams. Is there a representative from the Hotel Association on with us? Okay. And same question for the Office of Nightlife.
Salima's here.
Salima, there you are. Sorry. Great. Does that, I believe that still gets us to a quorum. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
Great. All right. We need to approve the previous meeting's minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
I second.
Fantastic. The meeting's minutes are approved. And now I'd like to open up for public comment. I don't know that we have anyone on other than our usual folks.
Mhm.
All right, great. I'm going to move on. If at any point someone from the public joins and would like to comment, we will welcome them. I would like to start with Larry, if you don't mind. If you have any updates from anti-sexual harassment training implementation.
We do not have any specific update other than the fact that many businesses have complied with their training implementation. Many businesses have also contributed some of their staff to become certified trainers to work on cost. and that we are very grateful for all the answers that we have gotten from DOES every time we get a question regarding to wage and time, and also the participation of the Mayor's Office of Nightlife and Culture and the Restaurant Association of Metropolitan Washington, because they have been very good at voicing to their constituencies any like updates, invitations to participate, etc.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, especially to whatever extent, Andrew, you have um, responsibility for making sure that gets out through the association. Thank you. I know that a number of businesses were alerted through the association and have either sought out, like Larry said, becoming trainers themselves or how to get the training done um, pretty promptly.
Yeah, I mean, we do strive to see that our members are in compliance and that they have the opportunity to be in compliance no matter what the requirements are. So we're always happy to do that and work within the agency to see that that's done.
And as always, well, again, Larry, you reminded me that I need to get my application done and so I can complete the training myself. Today, I promise, today I'll do it. Great. Thank you. The only other item I had was for Mr. King. If you could tell us about the TIP portal, any updates you have regarding that?
Sure. DOES has been in works of a new tip portal since the beginning of this fiscal year. We made some major strides around January with identifying a vendor that would help to get us to where we need to be. Uh, at the beginning of July, we started doing some internal testing of the beta build. Just last week, we also had an opportunity to meet with the National Payroll Reporting Consortium to show them what that beta build looks like and the functionality of the new portal, how it will allow for the weekly reporting that's required in the law. And we got their immediate feedback. So they gave us some notes, some things that they would like to see run differently, as well as some special specifications that created issues for them in the previous build of the tip portal. So we've taken that back to our team. We're going to work those kinks out, and we are expecting to have testing available for employers as well as payroll companies before the end of this month. We have been sending out a number of letters and communications to the employer community about opportunities that they can register for participation in that testing, or if they want to participate in our upcoming wage stuff webinar. We'll be having another one in the next 2 weeks. There's also been quite a bit of interest from the DC Council about that wage stuff webinar. So it will be open to the public. And then we're also going to have another event where we're partnering with the Mayor's Office of Nightlife. And we're looking at reaching out as well to the Restaurant Association so that we can make sure that their membership is aware of both those wage stuff webinars and the opportunities with the tip portal testing. In a perfect world, we're looking at actually launching this portal October 1. So that means that employers will have an opportunity to test, third-party payroll companies will have an opportunity to test. We'll have a few weeks available for registrations of the new portal before we start accepting submissions in October. And that will be for the 3-month quarter ending September 30th. With the tip minimum wage at $8 an hour and the full minimum wage at $17 an hour. And that's the update from DOES.
Cool, thank you. First, can we make sure that everyone on the council gets an invite to the wage theft webinar? And
Absolutely.
then second, can you how do I want to ask? I know that you can't obviously speculate onto about how the payroll companies received and the feedback that they gave, but just because they joined us a couple of times and obviously had some strong concerns. Can you share just a little bit about what um their feedback was the first time, and then what sort of issues or how those issues were remedied?
Sure. So the original feedback and concern from the National Payroll Consortium or Payroll Reporting Consortium (NPRC) was that the what was the Tip Wage Workers Fairness Amendment Act made several changes in the law to how reporting in the tip portal should have been done. Just before that law was passed, DOES put out some specifications, a multi-page document with specifications on how to use our historical tip portal, with information about how to clear up some of the issues that we saw early on with that first tip portal, but that those issues were not cleared up once the law changed. So they were hoping that we could do some additional specifications to remedy that. However, the issue was with the significant changes to the law, which required for reporting to be done on a weekly basis. Some of the rounding areas that were coming up in the portal, the historical portal, and some of the errors with paid time off, with some of the things that they just reiterated to us when we did our testing and our overview this past week. They also had some issues with not being able to do a bulk submission because many of those payroll companies had several employers that were their clients, and they wanted to be able to do a bulk submission for all of them. Our original portal did not have that, but our new specification document that came out just before the law change started allowing for it. So we did continue to allow them to do those bulk submissions in the historical portal until we are able to create our new portal. Which, like I said, we're in beta testing of it now. Um, Other concerns that they had was that they felt, or they had a whole layout of changes that could be made and how reporting could be done. But as I guess they wanted to bring that information to both us and to the council. But DOES does not, create the laws. We just have to enforce the laws that are on the book. So that's what we have continued to do.
Great. Thank you for that.
Two
Yes, Andy.
questions, if I may.
Yes, sir.
First is, have we clarified that it is payroll companies that are responsible under the law for doing the reporting rather than employers, and stopped attempting to hold employers liable for the payroll company's failure to report?
So that is not a matter I can comment on because there are litigation that's pending those decisions. But I do believe that the intent of the council, when they made the law, was to continue to hold employers responsible for paying workers correctly and getting them sexual harassment training and making a safe workplace for those workers. As far as the reporting into the portal, it was very clear initially that that responsibility was solely on the employer. When the Tip Wage Workers Fairness Amendment Act came out, there was some ambiguity about it. I know there were several conversations back and forth between the payroll companies, the employers, the council, as well as the OES. And our opinion was that we would continue to collect reports in the historical portal. If there was a hardship, we did have other ways for a manual submission, which was also required in the law. But as far as your question, Mr. Klein, I believe that that is a matter that's being currently litigated, so I cannot comment on a specific answer.
All right, and then my second question is, didn't NRPC tell you that they're going to need 6 months to adopt their software to be able to adapt to a new portal reporting system?
Yeah, so what NPRC told us was that that's typically the time period that they look for to do implementation. However, they thought that it was most important that they had opportunities to actually view the software and provide early feedback before we actually put something out. They did not want to wait until the end product, as was done previously. So that's what we wanted to prioritize, allowing them so that we could get their feedback like we did last week and start to look at opportunities to fix any kinks before we start doing testing with the rest of the community.
Well, all right. Well, I'll share with the committee what I'm hearing from NRPC as soon as I get a summary of it, and it's really quite different from what we're being told today. I'll just say that and leave it at that, and we can move on.
Were there other questions from council members? And you're on mute, Jared, but I do see that Director Unique Morris Hughes has joined us as well. Whenever we have her on, I love to give her an opportunity just to address the committee and offer any talking points that she has. If that's all right with you.
Absolutely. Good morning, Doctor.
No, good morning, and thank you, Mr. Span. I really appreciate it. I don't have much to say, and I do apologize for being late, but I thought it was important that I join today and be part of any discussion. And so I'm just here to participate, and will chime in and offer comments as needed or if asked. So thanks, everyone.
I just have one question. Will you be responding to the letter that was sent on behalf of the Restaurant Association and that was shared with this council, which you promised 2.5 weeks ago we'd get a response to?
Is that the letter from Councilmember Allen?
No, it's actually the letter
From
from
the
me, Andrew
Restaurant
Klein, on behalf
Association.
of the Restaurant Association.
Yes, I will provide a response. I've already spoken to Sean Townsend, I think at least twice about this issue, but I will provide a response.
Right. You wrote me and told me I'd be getting a response.
Yes, and then I called the president of RAM-W and had 2 conversations with him, which I think may have been shared with you in the subcommittee that is working on this with the Restaurant Association, that I've been in touch with him. So I have had a couple of conversations, and I will provide a response.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Can I ask what the letter was in reference to? I don't know if I'm familiar.
You're copied on it. I can send you another copy if
I am?
need be.
Oh boy, I gotta read
I
my
think
emails better.
I'm happy to provide a summary, but since the letter came from you and you're on the call, if you want to provide a high-level summary of the letter, I think that'd be helpful for those on the call.
Sure, I'm happy to do that. There were a number of issues. One is, despite the clear language of the law, which Mr. King and I vehemently disagree about, which provides that payroll companies have responsibility for filing the tip wage report. Employers were being cited for failing to file the reports. That was number one. Number two, there were a number of establishments who were sent notices alleging that they had failed to pay the minimum wage or the tipped minimum wage in different cases. Some of those circumstances resulted from the rounding that was required by the current portal that exists, and the rounding up of hours resulted in the average pay being below what was required to be paid as the minimum wage. That was obviously an error. Those operators were told that they owed, in some cases, like $2 or $3 in back pay, but were subject to fines of tens of thousands of dollars thousands of dollars. We had one operator who was told that he had $147,000 in back wages and was subject to a fine in excess of $800,000. And in looking at the report that was sent to him that justified this, it was clearly wrong on its face. If you added up all the hours that were allegedly worked by these workers, they totaled more hours than there were in the quarter that it was alleged that they worked. So they, even if they worked 24 hours a day, they could have not increased to those numbers. In terms of hours worked, there were a number of issues that we raised, and we await a response. And also the issue with the tip portal, I'm getting a completely different story from the consortium of payroll providers than has been relayed today, and I will share that with the members of this council as soon as I have a written summary.
And so I'm happy to give a preview of my response, which is that on behalf of the agency, I've asked my team to take a look at all of the wage audit letters that came out, and where there is a minimal amount of back pay that's due, to adjust the overall fine to operators and restaurant owners to reflect a more reasonable fine. So that's the first thing that I've done. The second thing, and I'm very firm on this, and I have talked to Sean about this, is that I don't want anyone to be mistaken about back wages that are owed to workers. There are, Daniel, you have the number. I don't have it committed to memory. By law, any employer is required to provide the appropriate wage for hours worked. And I think that we gloss over the fact that there are many people who, as a part of this wage audit, did not receive the correct pay. And so I will ensure that all people who worked in the restaurants that we have flagged for restaurant owners and operators that have not received the correct pay will receive the correct pay. And that's a non-negotiable for me. And it's equally important for me that the Restaurant Association acknowledge and support us in making sure that workers are paid accurately, timely, and fairly, as it is equally important to me that correct information regarding a fine and wages that are paid are accurately shared with restaurant owners and operators. Both of those things are equally important to me. So if there is incorrect information that came from one of my offices, it will be corrected and it will be reflected in an updated statement. But and at the same time, workers must be paid on time, accurately, and fairly. And I don't want that to be lost in this discussion.
Yeah, and for the record, we certainly have never disputed that. We agree with that. We support that. As I said before you got on, our association always encourages and helps our members be in compliance. So there isn't any question in terms of, there shouldn't be any question about the Restaurant Association's position on that. Our members need to comply with the law. Workers are entitled to what they're guaranteed under the law, and we certainly have no disagreement with that whatsoever. The second part of what you raised is the concern that we have, where people were unfairly charged, were told that they had fines that they didn't owe, and yeah, they're being corrected, but I mean, what was done was so blatantly wrong and incorrect and fallacious that anyone reading these statements on their face could see that. And in some cases, the amounts that were owed were so minimal, not that they shouldn't be paid, but in many cases they were wrong. and then to levy thousands of dollars worth of fines, or attempt to levy thousands of dollars worth of fines for what would have been at most an administrative error, and in many cases was just plain wrong on the agency's part, is
I don't
reprehensible.
think
I'm
there's
sorry, may I finish?
administrative
I'd like to
error.
finish, please.
Huh?
May I finish?
Sure.
Is reprehensible. I think apologies are appropriate to businesses that were treated that way, number one. And number two, this business, the opinion that you have about the law, which is plainly wrong, that the employers are responsible for filing these reports through the portal. We would ask that you request an opinion from the Office of Attorney General, because apparently your folks can't seem to read the law and keep charging people for something for which they do not have responsibility.
Mr. Klein, if the tone of your letter reflected the same sort of passion that you've had in describing at what you describe as an administrative error for not paying appropriate wages, or in which I acknowledge incorrect information that came from DOES, if there was the same sort of passion and focus on the hundreds of people who did not receive the correct pay at the correct time, we probably would be having a different conversation. What the core issue, there is a bigger issue here than any kind of administrative error, which is equity. And hundreds of people did not get paid the correct amount of money. And I'm not going to allow it. And it is reprehensible, some of the same language that you use. I'm not going to allow it. People deserve to be paid fairly, accurately, and timely when they work. It shouldn't take me doing an audit a year back or 2 years back to discover that someone hasn't been paid, and then a restaurant owner, a restaurateur says, oops, we didn't realize that. It's completely unacceptable. And
well, now you say hundreds. You said in your letter over 1,000. So just get it right. We're just asking that you get it right. That's all we're asking. Get it right.
And Mr. Klein, when you all get right the fact that hundreds or thousands of workers, primarily of color, have not been paid timely and accurately, then we can have that kind of a conversation between you and I. But the bottom line is I acknowledge that there may have been a rounding error or a fine, not that the fine was incorrect, because if you don't pay the correct amount of money, you are subject and could be fined. So we're not even disputing that. You all are just disputing the amount that was assessed in fines. But it is a bigger issue, and I have asked the Restaurant Association to take a deeper look at the number of people who have not been paid timely, accurately, and fairly. And they're people of color. I mean, you should be, quite frankly, jumping up and down about this. Like, people
you haven't
should
asked
be
me
very,
anything. I haven't
very-
heard from you. So let me be clear.
I'm
I wrote
sorry,
the letter
I'm
on
not
behalf.
finished
I
talking,
wrote the
so
letter
you
on
need to
behalf
give
of the
me
Restaurant Association.
Klein.
You haven't asked me anything. I haven't heard from
You
you.
just
I've
interrupted
gotten no
me and I let you
response
speak.
to my
No,
letter, despite the fact that I was promised one. Nothing.
Mr. Klein,
Crickets.
you interrupted me and you asked me to not interrupt you. So I'd like for you to show me the same professional courtesy and respect. And I want
Fair
to
enough.
apologize to the committee. What you hear from me and my tone is, a focus on trying to make sure that people get paid. That's really what I want to happen. That's the whole point of the wage audit, is to ensure that employers are paying their staff. Some of you all may have not ever experienced being short on a check or missing a paycheck or not having enough money to meet, to pay your bills or provide necessities. Having an employer that shorts you is a travesty, and it's completely unacceptable, and I won't allow it. So if my team messed up and where my team messed up, we will address. I will also, as a professional courtesy, in some cases, reduce fines if the fine is not appropriate based on the amount of back wages paid. But nobody can get out of this conversation until we address equity and the thousands or hundreds of people who have not been paid fairly, accurately, and on time. You're welcome to respond now, Mr. Klein.
Look, we agree that everyone should be paid on time, and no one should be shorted wages. Likewise, no business owner should walk into their business and open an envelope that says that they owe $143,000 in back wages and are subject to a fine of $807,000 when they have not shorted their workers a penny. That's just wrong, and the agency should be accountable for that. And fairness works across the board. Workers should be treated fairly, and guess what? Business owners should be treated fairly also. They have families also, and to suggest that what's done to them is of less importance than in terms of how workers are treated is not right. I mean, it's your agency's responsibility to get it right. And if it's not right, then look, mistakes are made. We get it, but take responsibility and be accountable. And that's what we're complaining about. Our members need to follow the law. We make no bones about that. And it's my job to encourage them to follow the law, but it's also my job to see that agencies are held accountable when our business owners are treated unfairly. And that's what happened in this case. And to gloss over it and say, yeah, but there were bigger issues at play here, and to minimize what this agency did to many of our members is just not right. And if you don't want to talk about it, fine. There's probably another forum where we can discuss it, and I suspect that'll be happening.
I want to talk about equity. That's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about fair pay for workers. That's what I want to talk about. I've already acknowledged that if there's an error on behalf of my agency, we will fix it. I've already said as a professional courtesy, and I don't have to, we'll adjust the fine. I don't have to, but we'll adjust the fines as a professional courtesy. But where are we going to have a talk about people being paid fairly and accurately and on time?
I'm always welcome to have those conversations. I haven't heard from you. So to say that you're always willing to talk about it, you don't respond. So
No, I have. I mean, I may not have responded directly to you, but I've had conversations with the Restaurant Association, but I
Not
responded and said
substantively,
I would respond to your letter.
you haven't responded to the letter, and any conversations were not substantive. I mean, it's been
Says
reported to
who?
me what's been discussed.
Says who?
I think we
Okay.
can just leave it there. I mean, you can respond in writing. That way we'll all know what the response is, rather than saying that you just
And in my
you talked to
response,
somebody.
I'll give you a preview of my response. I'm going to be asking very explicitly and directly what you are doing to support, like you said, it's your position or your organization's position to support compliance. So I'll be taking it one step further and asking in which ways are you supporting compliance and how are you supporting this issue of equity and people
Fine.
getting paid on time?
That's fine.
So I would like
We'll
to
be
see a
happy to
response.
answer that, and we look forward to your inquiry.
I mean, I'm looking for a substantive answer.
As I said, we look forward to your inquiry, and we will substantively respond. That's what we do.
Thank you. Mr. Span, I don't have anything else to add, but I'm welcome, I mean, on this particular topic, but I'm welcome to, or you're welcome, and the council is welcome to ask me any questions if they have specific questions.
I don't have any questions. Does anyone on the call have any questions for Dr. Unique?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I don't even know where to start with this, but if we're on the subject of equity and supporting workers in their most dire times, Dr. Unique Morris Hughes, where is the accountability and the updates on the DC UI portal for the vast majority of people who were the most hardest hit during the pandemic, which were tipped workers and more broadly hospitality workers? I can't even believe that you would say the things that you said today in the face of that shadow of negligence that DOES showed during that pandemic. I learned actually last week that a friend of mine killed himself and directly cited the failures of DOES and unemployment in his letter to his friends and family. So I just think you should know that. If we want to talk about equity and the workers that were absolutely devastated by the lack of seriousness that people were giving from your office, I think that's just, I don't even know where to start. Absolutely, workers should be paid. And I'm sure that Mr. Klein has good reasoning for the things that he's saying. And I can agree that everybody should be paid the way they should be paid, 100%. And the enforcement comes from DOES, and it should be as it is. But I can't believe you're here talking about equity to me and this council and this body in this way after what happened during the pandemic. I can't believe that.
So, Mr. Hoffman, let me first share my condolences to you for the loss of your friend. You know, what happened during no one could have planned or predicted that we would have been in a global pandemic, not a single person. And certainly I don't want anyone to ever, take their life related to any issue regarding this agency or any government action. And so I offer my deepest, condolences and sympathy to you for your friend. As it relates to the unemployment insurance benefits portal, I did testify, I think it was probably in March or April, about the status of the unemployment insurance benefits system. This is the tip wage coordinating council, but I'm happy to provide updates on UI as well if you'd like. We are in the process of finalizing the UI benefits system, as we are in the process of finalizing the new UI tax system. The vendor is in a phase where we are finalizing code, and we're looking forward to a release, which will likely be early winter at the top of the year. So we have made some substantial progress there. And I understand that you may not be pleased with the response of this agency related to unemployment insurance. And so there's not much I can do there to change that. What I can say in the face of equity, I have worked with the National Department of Labor, the National Office of the Department of Labor, and the District of Columbia was one of 5 states that's leading equity work across the country for unemployment insurance beneficiaries. What we learned through the pandemic is that there's a whole host of unique issues for people of color, from communities of color, and that are low income, from immigrant communities that don't show up anywhere else. We actually received a grant to further this work, and I was asked to speak on behalf of the Department of Labor nationally on these issues. And so the District of Columbia is at the forefront of closing any kind of inequitable gaps. And I still stand firm and rooted in this principle of supporting workers and fair wages. And I think perhaps we'll just have to agree to disagree on the response of the pandemic. I'm an open book, so if you have other questions while I'm here, I won't be on for too much longer because I do have another call at 11. But if anyone else has any specific questions they'd like to ask me, I'm happy to answer. Looks like someone put in the chat an update other than thanking DOES to answer our questions from the public, as well as the MONC and the RAMW for their support. Got it. Okay, so I'm going to stick around But if other questions or comments come up that folks would like me to address, I'll be here to answer them.
I'm sorry. I'm always bad at paying attention to the chat. Yes, the meetings are recorded. And posted with a question mark. Is that correct? Or they're accessible
Yes.
via
Yes, Jared,
DOE's
that is
website?
correct.
Okay.
Yes, this is Cherie. That is correct.
All right. Cool.
The,
Thank you.
the meeting minutes as well as the recording is posted on the DOS
Yes.
website.
Okay, well, those we've covered all of the topics that I intended to cover for today. Is uh, if anyone has anything else that they'd like to bring to today's meeting, please do. Great. So for September, look forward to hopefully, Mr. King, you letting us know that the tip portal is on the verge of going live in October. And as always, if there are any issues that arise between now and then, please get them to me and to the team at DOES, and we'll make sure to get them on the agenda. Lastly, I guess I'd just say to you, Dr. Unique, first of all, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasant surprise. And as chair of the Tip Workers Coordinating Committee, I at least will personally say, but also on behalf of the committee, that your dedication to rectifying issues of wage theft in our community, especially amongst tip workers in restaurants and other hospitality industries, is much appreciated. And yeah, that's I'll leave it at that. But that's the whole point of this. The creation of this committee was to talk about these issues, rectify these issues. And it's great to know that you share the passion that we do for that. All right. If no one has anything else, then I will move to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. You all have a great August, and we'll see you in September. I actually, before we go, just very quick nod or thumbs up or whatever you can do to show that this is still a good day of the week and time of the week to meet once a month. Okay, great. I got more yeses than nos. All right. We will see you all soon, and let me know if you need anything in the meantime. Thank you.
So we're agreeing to schedule September 4th for the next meeting, Monday.
Yes,
September
that's
4th?
correct. Yes.
All right.
September 4th, excuse me, September 4th is the Labor Day holiday, so I believe we should push for the 11th.
Good call, Cherie. Thank you. The 11th it is. Alrighty.
Thank you.
That's all.
Bye-bye.
Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
He's not leaving. Let him leave.